Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to the Lion's Den in Prince George, British Columbia. So here we are on day 2, which is actually day 3 because we got started more than we thought we would actually on Friday night. But we were going through the prequel, so it went pretty fast. If you want to see how we got to this point, then just go check out, there's about 100 videos already from a bunch of different YouTubers. And like this guy here, he's just filming right now. Anyway, so you can go check out all those channels. Anyway, so we started about an hour ago, and
James,
one of the things that happened. You can go ahead and take your turn if you want.
Yeah.
So unless you have to do something else. So one of the major things that's happened right now in the game is that Tokyo is falling. The Japanese player made a bit of a mistake there and forgot to put stuff on his capital, but that happens. Like I forgot to put stuff on my capital. Rank was one territory away from being able to land his air transport. We could have had 2 guys lose their capital within a half an hour. But thankfully, he wasn't able to take mine. I mean, you can still go for it. I've only got 3 guys there.
I know, but now my odds are 1 on 3, right?
I know. So anyway, like that can happen to any of us. It's happened to me before. I've done it to people before. And I know some people made some comments online like, oh, you should just, let it slide and everything. But the thing is, we talked about it before we started, and we decided what was going to be allowed and what was not going to be allowed. And one of the things that was not going to be allowed is movement. Once your turn ends and we got these bells in the corner, then you ring the bell, then the turn ends like that. There you go. Anyway, so like it wouldn't be fair to the other players. Like the Allies were probably, in close second, third place at the time. It wouldn't be fair to them for sure to say, oh no, you don't get to. Despite the fact that we talked about the rules and this is the way the rules were going to be, you don't get to do that, right? So it wouldn't be fair to them. It really wouldn't be fair to anybody at the game. It's going to happen to all of us. This is a difficult game to play. Like it's a long day, and like I've only got 4 hours sleep the last 2 nights, and it's a slog. Like you go and it's a slog, and each guy has got to do what it takes to like go take a break or eat something or whatever it takes you to do, or just stop when you can't go any further. Anyway, so Tokyo fell, but it barely fell. Like we tried to save it, the other allies in the Comintern. We sent over a plane, the Italians did, and then just now, like after it fell, we also the Germans sent over a transport because the Americans had not declared war on the Germans yet, and that was a mistake on their part because they were able to send a transport plane, and then the Russians sent over an airborne unit. So he has a chance to take it back. We don't know if that's going to happen or not. So we're going to see.
nothing. Sorry.
Anyway, so let's move along here. Let's see what else is going on. Oop, I just knocked something over. What else has happened in the last term? Well, the KMT has decided that they're going to go on the offense. They've had enough of sitting in Yunnan, and so they're starting to branch out. And also, just now the CCP got back into the game here, so we'll see. I don't think they're long for it though, because the KMT is right there and they'll take them out. But we'll see. Maybe they can get back into it again, right? Oh, that reminds me, I forgot to do my recruitment roll for them. I gotta hit a 1. Let's just try that. And it's a 5. So, didn't get the recruitment roll for the CCP. Anyway, you can see that Madman Dan has put both a gun and like a coastal artillery and a fortification on Egypt. So that's just going to be impossible for the Italians to take Egypt. So one of the things they're going to try to do, I don't know, I'm just guessing, but he's going to go put some pressure on somebody else. Like they can move through the canals and stuff because they're not at war with anybody. So there's his fleet right there, these three markers, and he's I don't know who he's going to threaten. He could threaten London, he could threaten Washington, he could threaten the Russians if he wanted to, right? But like he's got 6 Marines in that fleet, and he can certainly make somebody's life a bit of a headache. So we'll see what he does. He's definitely starting to put his stamp on the game, that's for sure. Now, the Mexicans the Americans finally got one of their influence roles. They managed to influence the Mexicans, so the Americans got a new territory and some new units.
At least your planes can fly there, right?
And the Germans. So the Germans and the Russians didn't put much on the Eastern Front this turn because the Allies are the new leaders in the game, and so we kind of have to, like, he's got to shore up his western flank and I've got to shore up my eastern flank a bit, but that doesn't mean that we're going to stay enemies. We still left all our units in there. We just said, okay, let's not attack each other this turn, let's just put some stuff somewhere else to try to stem the tide. And so, like, for instance, one of the things the Russians did was they took a major factory off the Eastern Front and they put it down in the south there, right? So they don't have nearly as much factories on the Eastern Front. And the Germans put a couple of fighters over here. Plus they both lend lease to the Japanese as well, right? And the Russians had also started to go into Manchuria. That was a goal that they had the whole game. They were going to wait till late game after they'd shored up the Eastern Front, and then they were going to start working over in the Far East. And so that's what they're doing, is they're making their way, see how far they can get in there. It's going to be tough now because they've got the Americans and the KMT and still the Japanese, so we'll see what happens with them to contend with. So we're going to see. This is an interesting game, and it's definitely not over. There's lots of stuff to happen yet. Like Australia is still in Japanese hands down there, right? You know, you don't just automatically get it back if Tokyo falls, right? So we'll see what happens. We'll come back to the next round. All right, so we're another turn into it, and big changes this round.
In Japan,
A couple of things happened.
you run out of stuff
One of
to
them
put
was
stuff down.
the Allies and the Axis
down
aligned
battle
against the
cruisers.
Comintern for about 20 minutes.
Okay.
It'll cost 5-5 for you now.
It's funny, you
And
know,
the
they
Sherman
started
Bomber
out all night long, oh my
And you
god,
need a
you gotta
major
come help me, God. And then they turned around as
remind
soon
me of
as,
that when I
as
start
one
building.
thing happened.
This
so
I'm gonna
it's
build
kind of
in
funny,
Japan right
and it's
now.
fun.
You can.
Anyway, so what they did
can't?
was they
No,
sent the
because you need a
bombers,
major
one
thing.
heavy
Major.
strategic bomber and one regular strategic bomber. And so then the stipulation was they had to attack Moscow.
Roar across.
Thankfully,
How fast do they
Moscow
go?
weathered
so-
the storm
About
and
4.
and wasn't taken.
So I got 9
like
bucks.
I've put stuff on since
Can't
then. I've
send
had
you
a
jet
turn
fighter,
since then, but I was down to
You could
1
get
infantry, right?
KMT some stuff.
Because they carpet bombed it and then
Nice.
they
could just-
dropped an airborne in there, and luckily I was able to save
Maybe
it.
as a factory.
But the big thing that happened over here was they came into here,
Just
like we
get
both
KMT
had just a
power.
ton of stuff in here, right? Like I had 15 advanced
You can't spend this that this
artillery,
turn, but you can spend it next turn.
and he had, well, you see what he has, and he
Okay.
had a bunch more stuff, like
And
lots
now I
of
got 4
cavalry and
of those just
infantry and
saving
stuff.
them.
Anyway,
I didn't build any
the
transport
first
or anything,
round
that's all
went
can go
about
there.
normal. Like he
Yeah, just
hit
save
me
it.
normal
You
amount,
can
I
use
hit
it
him a
for-
Because I
normal
gotta do
amount.
my tech
The second
and
round,
my-
he hit like 16 out of 20 or something like that.
Your work economy.
Like he didn't even roll all his units, and he was done. And so because he had done it in 2 rounds, which seemed inconceivable with the amount of units that I had on the board,
I didn't do anything.
then he was able to blitz. So then he blitzed into the city here.
We're good to go.
And that's
Free
where all my
France
Air Force
is,
was and
just
everything.
gonna
So that
collect
was a
money
big
and
change on the Eastern Front
Sit
here.
on it because I can't do anything with it.
And of course, that's going to slow the Russians down. And now we don't know what's going to happen with the Axis as well, because if you look over here,
I'm up to.
things look kind of thin over here, right? That's because Japan is out of the game. So, with a combined effort between the Axis and the Comintern, they were able to get Tokyo back. But then it fell again, and then they weren't able to get it back the second time. So, Tokyo is now in the hands of the Americans. But me see. Yeah, Tokyo's in the hands of the Americans. And the Japanese came off the board everywhere. One of the consequences, though, was the American Navy. This is it for the American Navy in the Pacific. A couple of straggler boats, and that's it. So, not sure if he's going to rebuild some fleet over here or if he's going to build all in the Atlantic. That's something. His turn is coming up pretty soon. We're just finishing off the UK turn right now. But that'll be interesting, and it's a very interesting game because the dynamics of the game have completely changed since last night before, well, this morning when Tokyo fell. I mean, so between then and now, so much is like big swings from not just from turn to turn, but from player to player. Like you'll start a round with an alliance, and by the end of that round, you'll be two alliances later.
I'm asking like that.
People are switching alliances like you wouldn't believe, and it's fun, but it's totally unpredictable.
Can I attack it with
and probably that's what makes it so much fun.
Yeah.
It's $10.
So,
yeah, but if you find it's a better value.
So now
go
there's
for
a
it.
big fight over China, of course, right? And the other, the consequence of Japan falling or Tokyo falling and surrendering is that now the Allies have the ability to declare war on the Commonwealth. And where are we here? We're in July of 1943, so we don't know how much time's left because it's a variable ending, right? So do they have enough time to take over Moscow? We don't know yet, right? Like, there's still a lot left to happen and a lot of alliances left to break, make and break. We'll see what happens next on that. So let's go around the board.
You know what?
You see Anzac here is empty. So if the British want Anzac back, then they have to go take it because Anzac had surrendered. Japan had taken over Australia and New Zealand, but their units just came off the board now, right? Well, a turn or before the British are. So it is nothing right now, basically, and so somebody's got to go down and liberate it if they want to get the Anzac back into the game. The FEC are doing well, and the KMT are doing well. The CCP briefly made an appearance, but like the KMT had a ton of units on the board, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. Like I had a goal of doing that, but now, of course, with that, like the rolling was just ridiculous, right? So I don't know that I can do it now because I'm so far behind on the Eastern Front now. I'm going to have to spend a lot of money there, but I'm also going to have to spend a lot of money defending myself against the Allies, which I didn't think I was going to have to do. Like up north there, down south here, over there, I'm going to have to defend in all different directions, whereas before I thought I was only going to have to defend a few places against the Axis, right? Like for here, for instance here, with the Russians having this, they couldn't have attacked Russia down here, the Allies, but now they can because they can declare war on them, right? But to me, it was like having Italy that is not a war, like they couldn't attack it, right? But now they can. And Panzer King has not done anything yet. His fleet's still sitting there. There's stuff that he can do, but he doesn't want to. He's had enough. He's just given up. So anyway, the Americans were able to get Brazil this last turn, so now they've got Brazil and Mexico. I don't know who they're going to try to get next. Is this fleet, the American fleet, sitting down here in the south? That's really there. It's not just
America
okay.
and Brazil. Yep.
Okay. And UK, you can see UK is really strong up there. So it's not like Germany could turn around and attack them or anything. But at the same time, they don't have any fleet up there. So I'm not sure what's going to happen up there in the North Atlantic. There hasn't really been much of a battle up in the North Atlantic. There's been some bombing and stuff, but the sub warfare ended early, and so not a lot going on in the North Atlantic, or the Mediterranean for that matter, as far as battles go, right? Anyway, be back next round. All right, so we are at the end of 1944, and let me just take a look. Yeah, end of 1944, and I think, like, I know I forgot to do at least one turn with video, and it might have been two. We've had a really busy day today. Not all of us, but like the Eastern Front was a constant battle, right? So I was rolling and rolling and rolling. When I wasn't rolling, I needed to just walk outside or go sit down or take a break, right? Because it gets pretty heavy. Anyway, long story short, we got to where we were rolling for the variable ending the first time, and the roll dictated that we go on, right? Like we rolled a 12, you needed to roll a 3 or less. But we talked about it, like we got the allies to leave the room, and the other 4 people that were here, the Comintern and the Axis, we talked about it, and there was nothing that could happen. Like, it was obvious who was first, who was second, and who was third in the game. Like those positions couldn't possibly change. We'll give you the points, like I'll do another thing later. The guys are just eating dinner right now, and then they're going to come out and we're going to do the awards and stuff like that. But anyway, it's not going to change. The Allies won. They played a great game. Madman Dan and Hilltop Pillbox, they absolutely played a great game. And the Axis came in second, and the Comintern came in last. And you know, when we got up this morning, like when we started this morning, the very first thing that happened was basically, was Japan gonna fall or not? Was Tokyo gonna fall? And it did fall, and then it did come back. Like the Comintern and the Axis banded together to save it, and that was probably on an earlier video, but I'll just recap a little bit anyway. They banded together to save it, and then it fell again, and then we weren't able to save it again after that. So Japan did whatever they could. They knew they were going to lose their units. They took out the American boats. You see the boats that are sitting in there right now. That's the only thing that was left of the American fleet at the end of it. They've got a lot more boats now. Like they've built stuff since then. They were heading over there, you know, for the assault on Russia, eventual assault on Russia if we kept going. And as you can see here, the KMT evolved into a major power. So that's like basically on the strength of Japan falling and having no opposition over in the Pacific Ocean anymore. They were able to come back down and get Anzac, because Anzac had fallen to the Japanese, so they were able to get Anzac back. And then they had free reign to roam around and take back all the islands and everything. So they had just a stinking amount of money, right? Like you can see the FEC here, how much stuff they had. The FEC hardly fought a battle the whole game. Like I think they fought over Burma once, maybe twice, and that was it. That's all the FEC did. They might have fought another battle or two that I don't remember, but they would have been tiny ones. But you can see how much stuff they had, because they had virtually no attrition whatsoever, right? And then, what else did they do? So yeah, like they didn't even make it to Europe yet. Like if the game would have kept going, you could see all the stuff they have there, right? Like there's a bunch of more guys, and there's a bunch of more Navy. Like they were just on their way over, and you see how much stuff is in Britain. They were about to go after Germany. There was no reason to go after the Comintern, the Comintern anymore, because they were already sunk. I'll get to that in a minute. We'll just take a look at what Italy had left. Like this is their navy, you can see down here in the Sahara, and this is what's on Rome. But their navy, like there's a couple boats that are beside Rome there. The rest of their navy is up there. And that's really, that goes to the story of why the order came in as it was in the end. Let me just take you up to the other side of the board there and show you. So what happened was this morning, like we talked about it overnight and everything, like a few messages early before we got here and everything. And we talked about how
Japan was about to fall, and the Allies were going to be strong, like they are, right? And so we got to stop them, right? We got to band together a bit and stop them. So Germany and Russia made a truce here. We won't attack each other, and we won't put any stuff on. And then we went over and saved Tokyo, right? And then it was just like one round that only lasted, and then all of a sudden the alliances had shifted. So it was the Axis and the Allies, and all of a sudden they were against the Comintern, not the Italians, because the Italians weren't in the war at that time. But anyway, Germany and Russia each had just a ton of stuff right here. Like they were stacked all along the border, but this was the main part right here. A bunch of stuff right here, and Rank Harkis playing the Germans, he just rolled right through the Russians. Like that first attack there, he had the first round was pretty normal between the two. Like they both sides took about a normal amount of casualties that you'd expect. And then his second round, he rolled 16 hits out of his first 20 dice, and bang, that was it. The Comintern was gone in that space. So he had a ton of tanks left over, and he rolled into here. Those tanks, like he just kept rolling and rolling and rolling, and he just couldn't miss hardly. Like he was probably 75% on his dice rolling, and the Comintern were no better than normal, right? Like I can't complain about the dice I rolled. It was not that bad. It's just, man, he was just lights out today. He eventually made it into Moscow, so took my money, and then I moved my capital, and then I took Moscow back. But that's where the game ended. In the meantime, the dirty Italians, they made a deal.
Very dirty.
They wanted to get into the war, so. So they chose the Allies, and I can't say that it was a bad decision, because I don't think if they would have banded together with the Comintern, the Axis, I don't think that either one of for sure the Axis couldn't have won. The Comintern would have been hard pressed to as well, because like I said, what happened in Asia was going to happen. There was nobody there to stop them, right? But so he made an unholy alliance with them. You can see like Rome was just unprotected and all that stuff, and they did not attack him. They were actually lend-leasing to him, right? And he came in here and started attacking Russia too. So those guys just absolutely carved me right up. It was kind of funny, because again the rolling was just kind of lopsided as well, and so. It just, oh my God, here we go. And I don't even know if the Russians got a point. I didn't add up my points. They might have, I think they do, actually. They've got the rail line from Morsk Krai to Moscow. That's probably the only point they have, though. So they were way behind everybody else. The Axis actually have a few points. And then I think the Allies, they were close to having maximum points. And if we would have kept going, if we wouldn't have capitulated, I'm sure they would have had maximum points. Because they were making like twice as much money as the rest of us put together, at least, maybe more, right? And it was like the writing was on the wall. And so, like we had only planned on playing 3 days, and because we got 5 rounds in on Friday, we thought, we got some people in town. Let's go to the lake tomorrow for a boat ride, right? Let's finish off tonight, and let's give out the hardware and the prizes and everything. And let's do that, right? Rather than play a game that is already decided, like completely decided. We know who's first, we know who's second, and we know who's third, right? Anyway, so that's basically what happened here. I'll just pan around the board here, and you can look around. So I'll show you Russia in here. Like it doesn't look too bad for Russia, but that's only because we ended it, right? Like it would have looked, the longer it went, the worse it would have been. And then of course there's Asia, all past there, that's all Allies over there. And mostly Allies down there, even though it looks Italian, that's just the boats in the Sahara, which are actually over here, right? So most of that is British, except for that one little Italian stronghold there. The fight between the Free French and the Vichy wasn't too bad, actually. It was kind of interesting. Like it's never going to be a thrilling match between the two, but it was kind of interesting. One of the things that there was a little bit of a surprise, like you think, oh, you know, the Vichy got a huge navy, right, in the rolling, and if you were following along, you remember that. But the fact that they had such a huge navy and the other guys had hardly anything for a navy, like just 2 boats, or yeah, actually 2 boats and a transport, meant that there was no fight between the navies, because it's not like the Vichy could have used their navy against anybody else, right? So I mean, the only thing about that is if you attacked the Vichy, then their navy went to the Germans. So you know, I don't know if that provided any more of a deterrent, because nobody was really wanting to anyway, right? But anyway, like Spain, that went pretty early, I guess. Actually, no, the war started when Spain was still being decided. Anyway, I'll pan around here so you can see things a little better. Madman Dan decided it would be exciting if he started damaging railways at the end there. Lots of strategic bombing in this game. Lots of heavy bombers going on. And so the commenter, considering the number of rolls they had, they really didn't do great with that. They actually got a little better near the end, so it looks a little better, but the game was already over. The Americans, I mean, what should I roll for? Should I? You know, like, and then Germany had quite a few as well. And Japan not so much, but they don't have as many factories, right? And plus they were out of the game a few turns ago, right? And I'll show you the incomes here. Like Germany did get their, would have gotten their point for all that income there. The Americans down here at 77, right? And the Comintern, or sorry, the Commonwealth, they're all doing good. Russia didn't have too bad, but like I said, they were losing more and more as time went on. And as far as points go, even though they had some territories outside of Russia, the fact that they'd lost so many territories that were worth a point in here, I think they were probably at about 0. So I don't think they would have gotten any points for that. I'd be surprised, maybe 1 point, maybe they were minus 1 point. But I don't think they would have gotten any points for that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll do another video, like a kind of a wrap-up video. I don't know when, but maybe tomorrow or the next day, to talk a little bit about the prizes and things like that. Or maybe there will be some more onto this video, I'm not sure, we'll see. But I'm going to wrap it up here so the other guys can do their end of game videos. Thanks for joining us from the Lion's Den in Prince George, British Columbia. This is General Hand Grenade signing off.